What's good, Wagering World? It's your boy Five Star in Vegas, broadcasting live as always from beautiful Summerlin, Nevada. And here with my guy, my co-host, the only Sacramento Kings fan that I know. What's good, Spread Still? How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited for today's show. So let's dive right in.
Let's dive right in, man. We got a very special guest today, man. We got the CEO of SCOONTV in here today, man. The one and only Curtis Scoon. And he's going to be sharing his knowledge with us today about the fight that's coming up this weekend, man. How you doing today, Big Scoon?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm glad to be here with you fellas, Yeah, for sure. But don't take any betting tips from me, though. That's not my thing. I'm more or less a passionate boxing fan. That's all.
Man, if you guys, just to give you guys just a little background on Scoon. Scoon is a major dude, man. He does a lot to help people in the community, man. He's a man of many hats, does a lot of great things, man. And we're very appreciative for him giving us a platform to put this show on, man. We've been rolling with him now since football season, man, and we hope this continues for a long time, man. We enjoy working with him, and we've been on this platform a long time, man. And he's just been a good dude. Anything we need, anything we ask of him, he's always came through with. So we really appreciate Spoon, and we really appreciate him taking time from his busy schedule today to get with us and drop a little fight knowledge about the sweet science, man. I'm not familiar with boxing. First, Spoon, give him a little quick background about how you know about boxing, how you got involved with boxing, and also about the documentaries coming out, Born to Box.
My love affair with boxing goes back to Muhammad Ali. I was a kid. More so I was an Ali fan than a boxing fan. And then I'm from New York. So in the 80s, when I was like an adolescent, it was the Mike Tyson era. And, he turned the boxing world on its head. So I rode that wave, and I got to see Mike fight live against Razor Ruddock and Holyfield and all these guys. I've attended a lot of fights, been there at some key moments in boxing history in the past 30 years. And I just love the sport. Boxing and horse racing is pretty much the two sports I enjoy the most. I think it's kind of like a throwback thing to me because in the old movies, that's what the old gangsters used to do, go to the fights and go to the racetracks. So I kind of picked that up from the films, But my passion has led me to producing a film called Born to Box. And it's a very interesting story. It kind of grew as we were doing it. It started off being about Adrian Davis. He's a D.C. area trainer. He's trained 14 world champions. And his story's kind of sad, but it's typical of what goes on in boxing. Everybody's not a Floyd Mayweather. A lot of people end up broke, destitute, and broken. They endure a lot of damage. So I want to use the film to advocate for pensions for fighters and contracts for trainers, because trainers often work without a written contract, just on a handshake. And as Andre Rozier, who trained Danny Jacobs in his fight against Canelo Alvarez, will tell you, that handshake sometimes don't work out. They raise these kids, they're like a surrogate father to them, take them all the way from when they were amateurs to professionals, and they don't get paid most of the time because they don't make a lot of money until they get the big shot. And then when they get the big shot, sometimes they play fair, sometimes they don't,
Right.
And so no one ever gets to hear the trainer's story. So that's what I'm trying to tell.
Nice. That's a great way to tell that side of the boxing, man, because a lot of people aren't familiar with that. Because boxing has a long history of the trainers and the boxers both coming from kind of like backgrounds that aren't typical. It's used to have a lot of a stigma about boxing, about a lot of them being on
a lot of criminals. Just say a lot of ex-cons.
A lot of ex-cons. So it's always been a shady fight business. I think Floyd is the first one that kind of took it to the next level, and that's because I'm sure his dad and uncle went through all of the chaos and kind of laced him up and told him what was going to go on with him being a second generation fighter. I'm sure that helped him a lot, prevent him from that. What's up, Spread? Shoot something, Scoon, about Born to Box.
Man, I can't wait to see it. And, of course, trainers are so much fun. And I think that's some of the appeal of the sport. right? Some of the great speeches we've heard these guys, right? You're blowing it, son. You're blowing it, son, right?
Angela Dundee, yeah.
Yeah, right. And so, do these guys throw in the towel? Going back to the Frazier and Ali fight. I mean, it's just so much to do with the sport. And even as you've talked about boxing moving into the cinema, the trainers are really the guys that we loved growing up watching, right? We all wish we had a guy, like Parlay and Rocky or some of these other great guys. So I can't wait to see this and, talk some more about this fight coming up this weekend.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got a good fight this weekend. I pretty much called the fight last weekend with Tyson Fury and Dillian White, but this weekend we got Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson. So this is at 130 pounds, and I was initially very impressed with Valdez when he dismantled Miguel Burchelt for the belt. I actually thought that Valdez could beat Stevenson at that point. But then in his follow-up fight, he got caught cheating and he got his ass beat and still got the decision. So I've kind of cooled off on him because I don't know which Valdez is going to show up. The one who fought Burchelt, he had very good footwork, great stamina, and he had a punch. And anyone who knows me, when I talk about boxing, just like fighting, you got to respect the man who can hit hard, who can crack. You know what I mean? I don't think Stevenson can crack, but he's being promoted like the second coming of Floyd Mayweather. That's fine and dandy, but Floyd Mayweather, when he was a young man at 130 pounds, he was a very different Floyd Mayweather. He was knocking people out. You know, so when I see Shakur moving up, and his knockout ratio is not that strong, I hope Oscar shows us what Shakur's chin is about tonight. And I don't mean by knocking him out. I got to see where Shakur's chin is before I'm sold on him. But other than that, I think he should win the fight on points. I think he should be able to outbox Oscar because Shakur is very slick. I think he's a little conservative with his punches, but I'd like to see him let his hands go. But man, his punches are like guided missiles, and he's very hard to hit. So I don't know where his heart or his chin is. I hope to find out tonight. I mean, tomorrow night. Excuse me.
Tomorrow night. Yeah, I'm very. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you how small the world is. So last night, a good friend of mine was in town. He's a cardiologist in Houston, and I had a meeting with him and some more guys from Caesars and stuff that I met over there at MGM, and we kind of had a late night cap, and we were over there speaking and stuff and hanging out a little bit. And when it was time to leave, I was walking out to valet to get my car. It's a lady sitting out there with a Shakur Stevenson jacket on. She has a jacket that's fully just everything Shakur Stevenson on. I'm like, and so I asked her, and the little group, I say, are you with Shakur Stevenson? And she's like, I'm his mother. So I met some of his family last night. It was a nice group of them. I met the trainer. They were all outside kicking it, man. And we chopped it up for about 15 minutes in front of MGM. And I actually told him about it. So I was like, man, we're going to be talking about the fight tomorrow. Tune in to SCOONTV and check it out. And he was like, which one it is? What is it? And I told him, and he put it in his phone and stuff. But it just shows you how small this world is. I said about midnight last night, they was just sitting in front of the MGM. I think somebody's probably having a smoke break or something, and the rest of them were out there with them. And I seen the jacket. If the mom wouldn't have had the jacket on, I would have never known that it was him. Are you familiar with these fighters that I'll spread?
Yeah, so I think he's got a great idea about Shakur Stevenson. Of course, being compared to Floyd. Floyd wasn't necessarily the one-hitter quitter, though, at 130, right? It was an accumulation there.
Yes, so, yeah. That's why I said I wanted to Shakur to let his hands go. I want to see his hands fly. Yeah. Yeah,
he was the master of combinations, and he dropped down to about 3 punches once he got to 140, 147, right? Because he didn't really want to put himself at risk. But when he was really at his natural weight class, which I think was 135, right? If the money wasn't at 140, 147, he wouldn't need to go up. I think that's the same with Stevenson as well. Probably is going to top out at about 135. So this is going to be a great test here. Now, the experts like Stevenson and the betting market like Stevenson as well. I mean, this has moved almost $6 here from about minus 350. I'm looking right now on Bookmaker. He's minus 900. So people really expect Stevenson to win here. Valdez's path to victory, maybe, right? He's got to really rough this up. He's got to turn into a brawl. He doesn't want this to be a boxing match. He needs to turn it into a fight. And you make a great point about him failing Nevada and then having a bad performance right off that. Took a little bit of shine off that Burchelt win. But remember, he was an underdog going into that Burchelt match, right? So he's used to being in this position and almost playing with a little bit of house money here, because if he's competitive in a loss, I don't think it necessarily downgrades his earning potential too much. A lot of pressure on Stevenson tonight or tomorrow night to get this done. And I can't wait to see. But most people think that Stevenson's too fast and just too polished as far as being able to get his combinations out and move out of the way too quickly. So I can't wait to see it. Valdez has a great chance to really make his name for himself, but will he be the stepping stone for Stevenson tonight? I got to lean with the experts here, right?
I was about to say I wouldn't bet on it, but I do want to see him test Stevenson, though. I do. I want to see that.
Well, I think he will too. I think even if we can expect Stevenson to win, I still think it's a fantastic viewing experience for us to see. Is Stevenson take this easily? Is this going to be really rough for him, right? Because it kind of give us an idea of how easily he's going to be able to move up. I think this might be his toughest test here at 130. So he might have his sight set on that lightweight right afterwards. So I'd like to see Valdez to get in there, play a little rough, maybe bend the rules, kind of like, remember when Solito did that against Lomachenko, right?
Yes.
Said, this is a fight. This isn't a boxing match. I'm not going to play by the rules. And Lomachenko learned from that experience. Maybe we see something similar to tomorrow night. So definitely looking forward to that one.
Yeah, the best number seems to be Stevens by decision. That's you're a little familiar with the numbers of Scoon. It's minus 150. That would be you lay 150 to win 100. What do you think that'll be? Probably the strongest bet, Stevenson by decision. If you
that's what I predicted, Stevenson. But I don't see him stopping Valdez, although he says he's going to. But I think that's just bluster to sell the fight. He's not a big stopping puncher. He got Jamel, but Jamel Herring, he was kind of old and a little slow. Oscar's a little bit stronger, and not to be funny, but Oscar has a really big head, and guys with big heads can take a punch, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, usually, yes.
Yeah, so this is going to be a very exciting fight. See, like, I love listening to you guys. That's why I told Spray yesterday, I'm like, I'm gonna let you lead us. I haven't kept up with the fights, Scoon, since my grandfather, like you, was a super just fight guy. That's all he do. He loved fights. I remember being small. Remember back then Mike Tyson had the HBO deal. So I remember watching HBO and watching all the Tyson fights and him come up, and then later on in life, he lives right down the street from me. I see him several times. We've seen each other at the bank a couple times, and we have a common friend as well. So I've met him a couple times out here. He's kind of settled down into his old age, but that guy there, man, he was the one that really changed the game with fighting and got everybody really, really excited about the fight game and everything dealing with him, So Mike Tyson definitely was a game changer and everything. And then later on, I got into following Floyd mostly for money purposes. we used to load up on Floyd, man. We didn't care what the number was. We'd just put all our money together, fly from Houston, and load up on it because we knew it was good money. We knew we weren't going to lose, and I also was able, me and him know each other pretty good. We also got common friends, and he was in Houston a lot before I moved to Vegas. Now in Vegas, off because he likes betting sports a little bit, so I always see Leonard all the time at the book and stuff, and so it's the boxing world is really centered here in Las Vegas, man. What's the next big fight that's coming up after this one, Big Scoon?
I think next week they got Canelo and Bivol. I expect Canelo to win that one too. Okay. I wouldn't count Bivol out, but Canelo, I don't think he's taking fights that he can't win right now. If he's taking them, it's because he knows something. His trainer knows something. They see a way. I don't see an upset. And then, of course, I think we got Tank and Rolly Romero coming at the end of I think it's June 5th or the end of May, sometime around then. But those are the
look at this.
Yeah.
Let me see if I move it right. You see that?
What's that?
Giorgio Canelo. You see that? That's his dad.
Oh, for real?
We made it. I know everybody, man. We made it MGM in the VIP in the sports book, maybe 3-4 years ago. We ended up kicking it for an hour. His dad is so cool, man. His dad is on game, man. He's a smart businessman. And we chopped it up for a long time, exchanged numbers. We text every now and then, like when they're coming to town, but I don't try to get up in the camp. You know, I'm not a groupie. I don't do all of that. Yeah. But me, the dad, I know his dad, man. So it's funny that you said that. But Vegas, like I said, it's fight central, man. With being on the strip like I do and being so known in the sports books and the casinos, I run into all these guys all the time, man, all the time, and meet their family and things like that, man. Any more questions, Fred, for Scoon before we?
Yeah, if you got a couple minutes, we can have some fun here. Who do you think is a better prospect, Tank or Shakur Stevenson? Who do you think will do better?
Tank is the top 135-pounder. I've never seen a 135-pounder headline a pay-per-view card. None of them. Not Shakur, not Lomachenko, not even Ryan Garcia with his 11 million Instagram fans can do that. You know, so I think a lot of that credit should go to Floyd, because he's kind of like let Tank absorb some of the spillover of his fans and his antagonists, you know. So a lot of people want to see Tank lose. They'll pay to see, because they used to pay to see Floyd lose. But I think Tank ultimately, I think right now he's the top. I believe Shakur said something about, they asked him who's the big fight for him, and he mentioned Tank. I think his goal is to go up to 135 and fight Tank. It'll be a classic boxer versus puncher, even though Tank's a boxer puncher, sort of. You know what I mean? But that'll be a good fight. I'd have to go with Tank on that one, though, because I go with power all the time.
All right. Hey, and you had Tyson Fury. You know, you had that one right against Dylan White. Like, and some of the fun of boxing, right? We always do this. Some of these historical matchups. How do you think Fury would face against some of these prime guys? Like, if I were to say Fury versus Joe Louis, who do you think would win that one?
You know, here's the thing. For me, just aesthetically, Fury looks like he should be fighting in the circus, not in boxing. He should be boxing kangaroos or bears or something. However, I'm not a big fan of UK fighters, but I got to give Fury his props. The things that he has that people overlook, because they talk about his boxing skills and all that. Really, it's his determination. His determination. Oh, man, I got to salute him on that. For me, to be a big guy, as big as he is, he spends too much time on the canvas. That's why I'm kind of shaky on him. You know, if he was to get in there with somebody who really knew how to fight, and I haven't seen him in there with anyone who really knows how to fight yet, I don't think he's coming back off the canvas. You know, so that may answer your question. If he get in there with real fighters, I mean, Dillian White, oh man, that guy should be driving Uber somewhere. You know, like come on. Yeah, and Deontay Wilder, he has the power, but he's a one-trick pony. Once he loads up and let it loose on you, if you're still around, he's panicking, and we saw that.
Okay, well, I'll skip a couple of them because I was going to go through some of the all-timers, but it seems like you think these all-timers.
Let's go. Let's chop it up.
All right. How about Ali versus Fury? Who would you like there?
Domination.
Man.
Domination.
I don't see Fury beating anybody from any other era other than this one. He is the best heavyweight of this era, though. He's better than Anthony Joshua. They're all kind of real unimpressive, man. Like, I think Lennox Lewis might have been the last good heavyweight. And I wasn't even a big fan of his until Emmanuel Stewart got with him, you know, but I haven't, like, that's why I kind of faded from boxing. That's why Floyd came and got all the money. Usually boxing is the heavyweights, period. Right. The other people don't get to eat until the heavyweights kind of fade out. You know, even like with Sugar Ray and them, they got to make their money between Ali and Tyson. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, but when the heavyweights are popping, nobody else is eating. Everybody else is on the undercard, and that's not the case now because the heavyweights just aren't that good, and it's not Tyson Fury's fault that he was born in this era.
Well, so you think that Lewis beats him then? If they were
yes, I think Lewis beats him. Lewis, when he was on top of his game, he was small, but he had a hell of a punch. Some of those people that he would knock out, man, it was like, yo, it was incredible.
I'd say that. Go ahead. The biggest threat to him right now is Usyk. Do you think Usyk has a shot to take him out?
Too small.
Too small. Okay.
Too small. Usyk beat that.
All these heavyweights now, Scoon, I mean to cut you off. I just want to kind of sum up what you guys are talking. It's all of these heavyweights now are nothing like the heavyweights that we grew up on. And that's the reason it kind of guided me and pushed me away now from boxing because I was spoiled, man. I'm born in the early 80s, man. So I grew up as a small kid with my grandfather watching Sugar Ray, watching Bernard Hopkins, watching Marvelous Marvin Hagler, watching Tommy Hearn. This when the middleweights were unbelievable. Then on past the torch, Oscar De La Hoya had his run where he was having all these great fights.
You skip Roy Jones too, man.
Roy Jones, you know, it was fighting going on at that time.
Oh yeah.
It was such a main thing in the sports world that I was so into and I loved it. And then when everything happened with Floyd taking control, and then after that they kind of hated on Floyd so much that the kind of like the fight game kind of just soured, you know. And now that's what I was about to ask you, Scoon. How does the heavyweight division become popular again? Because the thing now we're dealing with is the money that's in sports. Why am I going to go out here as a 6'5", 280 guy with great feet and not play basketball now and get guaranteed money? I don't got to get hit on my chin. I ain't got to get beat up. I don't have to get up and run 30 miles in the morning. Or I can play defensive end if I like the physicality. And still, I'm sitting out for most of the year. I'm only playing 3 months out the year, and I'm getting big millions. And, you know, I got teammates. It's just not me and the full four. How do you get these guys to start being heavyweights again? Where do we get that from? Is it gonna ever come back?
I think for all boxers, you just really gotta love to fight, man. If you don't have that love, it don't matter how big you are, how athletic, you ain't gonna do too well in it because you're gonna be easily discouraged. And I think, you know, we live in a different times. You know, like I'm 57. It was common for us to fight all the time. I don't think these kids fight as much as we used to fight. You know,
they're gonna shoot you.
Yeah, you know, it's a little different now. You know, getting hit, they take it to heart, man. But I think boxing, what I want to see happen in boxing is instead of, you know, like I was explaining in the boxing room the other night, boxing is a tribal sport. Nationalistic, tribalistic. People they support people who they identify with more and more. I don't think that's a bad thing. Let the fans be that way.
Right.
But the people who cover it and promote it, they should be above that. And they should always push the fighters who could keep the sport alive. And part of the reason why I stopped following boxing is because of all the hype and the propaganda. You know, it's like I didn't even realize that Golden Boy Promotions owned Ring Magazine. Ring Magazine used to be the Bible of boxing when Bert Sugar had it, right? And I used to look at their contenders and all of that stuff. I trusted Bert Sugar's judgment because he was unbiased. Nobody had him in their pocket. You know what I mean? None of that. How could you trust Golden Boy to be just unbiased when covering boxing? They have to write you think they're going to promote their competitions fighters? You know, it doesn't even make sense. Yeah. And this is the case with all of them. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of opportunities for boxing journalists, boxing publications. So at the end of the day, no offense to any of them, they're going to toe the line for whoever's greasing their palm, man. So that means us as fans, we're not going to get the most accurate account and assessment of fights, fighters, or anything. You damn near got to do it yourself because it's all propaganda. Like I said, this shit is like the Soviet Union, and boxing journalism might as well be Pravda. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like how it is. And I'm not mad at the journalists because they got to pay their bills. I understand, but I'm not paying too much attention to them. I wouldn't place a bet based on what they said. Not at all.
Yeah, I remember when Max Kellerman's brother was alive. Man, boxing was major on ESPN. They talked about it all the time. All the stuff seemed like it's being like boxing is being kind of outdated now with UFC's kind of, pushed it to the back burner as well. What do you think about UFC and what it's done to boxing?
I'm gonna be blunt. I'm no big fan of UFC or MMA. To me, it's nothing but human cockfighting.
Right.
I see no real skill. I could see that shit in a parking lot outside a club.
Right.
Or in a bar. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna give you an example. One of the people in my film is Steve Kim. He used to be a writer for ESPN on camera. In the film, he's also an associate producer. Very helpful. I offered him that role because he was so helpful. Good guy. But on camera, he said he resigned from writing for ESPN because he would turn in stories and they wouldn't tell him, but he noticed that, like he wrote an article about Tank one time and they didn't think it was important because they didn't want to glorify Tank. Why is that? Because ESPN has a relationship with Top Rank and Bob Arum. You see what I'm saying? So even the information we get about the fighters is not accurate. You got one whole side trying to diminish the accomplishments of people on the other side. You got PBC, they're over there on Showtime. So now it's the networks. It's like schoolyard stuff. And really, it's all about the fighting. Take, for example, Victor Conti. He's also in the film. He was Balco, Snack, all of that. When Spence was getting ready to fight Ugas, Earl Spence is a PBC fighter. Victor Conti started casting suspicions about Spence using PEDs. But I understand what Victor was doing, right? Victor has a deal with Crawford. Crawford is an ambassador for Snack, his supplements, right? So he found a way to insert his company in the middle of a scandal that he created to promote it.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of stuff that's common in boxing now. That's when you can't figure out what's what and who's who. Terrence Crawford, he came in the ring with Snack on his trunks when he fought Sean Porter. He signed to Victor Conti. How coincidental that Victor's making allegations about Spence. I think it was a promotional tactic. You understand? And just yesterday, I believe Spence released his VADA testing. He's been part of the VADA clean boxing program since last June. So it was totally unfounded. And VADA is what Victor Conti pushes. So if you don't have any basis, why bring it up? Tyson Fury has been caught, failed a test. Canelo Alvarez twice. Who's the other one? Ortiz for tomorrow. Look, man, if you want to target boxers, get the ones who's been caught. Don't make allegations about people who haven't been caught. And I, like I said, I was talking to Conti about using Snack to sponsor the film. I probably won't get that sponsorship now, but it doesn't matter to me. You understand what I'm saying? Look, it doesn't matter to me, man. I'm not a whore for money, man. And I call it like I see it.
That's right. And that's why I'm on your platform, and that's why you're definitely a mentor of mine, because I try to follow the same thing, and we cut from the same cloth, man. We're not gonna, sacrifice ourselves for $1. You know what I mean? Is you got to still have some type of standards. And it's amazing that you say that about Bob Arum, because Don King is what, 90 years old. One of my favorite films is his
91
film, right?
and Bob is 90. They're 1 year apart.
Right. So he's 90. I'm watching on the film where they show with Don King. Remember he got arrested years ago for somebody owed him some money and he beat him up real bad and he had to go do a little time. And when he was in prison, that's, you know, when he came up with the idea, because he saw that Bob Arum was getting all this money from all these black fighters. And he was like, man, there's no black promoters. Why aren't any of these brothers, you know, dealing with a black guy too to do this promotion? It's only them taking this money to this white guy right here. So Bob Arum has been around since then.
They're rivals. They've always been friendly rivals. Yeah.
It's amazing to me that he's still around.
The two of them.
Don is faded back. I think Mike Tyson hurt Don's legacy a little bit with everything that he kind of badmouthed him with, you know. But Don King is nowhere to be found. What's going on?
Let me tell you my take. I'm reaching out to Don. Don is still promoting fights. But Don controlled the heavyweights, and by virtue of controlling the heavyweights, he controlled boxing. Because, like I said earlier, what Don did was, because he had been incarcerated, he's a number runner. He'd been accused of murder twice. One was ruled self-defense. The other he did time for. And those are the two we know about. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more than two. You know, he's a gangster. That's why he goes out of his way to create this caricature. But what he did, because boxing is the red light district of sports, he identified and connected with the fighters who were black, overwhelmingly, like you said. And he cut in. Now, he cut in with the fighters because he could relate to them. They felt more comfortable with him because he came from their world. I mean, he did a lot of things that they did and did it a lot better than them, you know? So, but what he really did that catapulted him was when he went to, it was called Zaire. Today it's the Democratic Republic of Congo. And the president at the time was Mobutu. And that's when they had the rumble in the jungle with George Foreman and Muhammad Ali. So what Don King essentially did was he circumvented the primary funding sources in America that he probably couldn't have gotten that money from to pull that fight off with an outside source. You see? And that made him a player that they had to acknowledge, because after he pulled that off, now he found a way in. He came in through the back door. You see, a lot of times, a lot of things are attributed to race. And I think race is somewhat of a ploy, but really it's about economics. They don't want to share money with anybody. But if they can use your race against you, they will. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like they hate you or anything like that. They just want it all for themselves, man. And they'll use anything they can.
Use the race to get in there with the black boxers and get them to say, let me help my brother man out. And he go to Africa and got them.
So that's what he did. And you know, I take pages out of his book, which is why I'm building relationships with Africa, which is why I want international support for SCOONTV. We get traffic in over 80 countries around the world. I just sent camera equipment to South Africa to build a team over there to start documenting things that's going on. And once you establish relationships outside of America, it makes you stronger in America. And that is for everybody, because it doesn't matter what color you are, man. That is a club, like George Carlin said, and we ain't in it. That's me, you, or spread. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and so you got to find a way to leverage yourself where they be like, all right, you figured, you cracked the code, come on in. And that's what Don did. And when the heavyweights was over, he was over. He used Chavez to carry him a little bit. Julio Cesar Chavez, the greatest Mexican boxer of all time. Don had him. Don started with Cinco de Mayo and all that. I never heard of a Cinco de Mayo until of a Don King's fight with Julio Cesar Chavez. You know what I mean? He put that in the American lexicon. You know, and when the heavyweights was over, he was kind of like over. They never wanted him there anyway, so nobody was going to make it easy for him to stay. You see, and that's the advantage somebody like a Bob Arum have. he could have mediocre fighters, but he'll still pull the deal off with ESPN. Dom got to come with Mike Tyson, Chavez. You know what I mean? It's like what Chris Rock said, man. He said, a Negro got to fly where a white man walk. You understand what I'm saying? And that's just how America's set up. And I don't think, if I'm being honest, and I'm affected by it, I embrace the challenge. I'm like, oh, that's what I got to do? Well, fuck it, I'm going to fly then. You know what I mean? And I'm going to fly high. And then you just got to rise to the challenge, man. And after you win, everybody loves a winner. Right. Once you win, shit start changing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's funny that you said you got the things going on in Africa. When we get off this line, I'm going to text you, man. I got some buddies who run Uganda. My boy, we go back a long time. We did a film together maybe 11 years ago. Ended up not getting to production. And then he ended up doing a reality show about Romeo, about Master P's son. I don't know if you remember Fame in the Family that he had about Romeo. That was his show, my guy's show, Kagozi, but he's originally from Uganda. His family runs Uganda. His uncle is like the prime minister, been for like years, and his father is connected strong in the army over there. So I definitely get you some information. Me and my wife actually invested in some land and stuff over there in Uganda. So
that's good stuff, man.
Yeah. So we'll definitely talk about a little bit about that. Anything for my guy Scoon?
One last question. And 5-star hit on the head when he said Floyd Mayweather changed the game. I would argue that he changed the game for the worse because he drew that fight out with Pacquiao and he still made a killing off it. It didn't hurt it at all, right? It was still the highest grossing fight of all time. In my mind, I think, if these two fighters are big in the 80s, that's a trilogy. Mayweather, Pacquiao is a trilogy. Now I look at current day. You mentioned these two guys. They're still building it up. Spence and Crawford. In my mind, we should be talking about the third fight right now, right?
Right.
They should have fought already.
Because Crawford's going to be 35. That's right. Crawford is old, man.
Who do you got if they finally ever get this gun and staying in the ring? Because I'm guilty too. I'm mad that they're not doing it, but I'll pay $100 if it's on pay-per-view to finally see that fight. But if they get in the ring, who do you got, Spence or Crawford?
I got Spence all day.
Okay.
He's 32. Crawford would be 35 by the time they fight. Crawford's a strong, great fighter. Not style-wise, but his meanness reminds me of Hagler in the ring. Right?
Hagler, yep.
But at the end of the day, at those smaller weights, it's about reflexes and speed. And none of us have beaten Father Time, man. He's not as fast as he was. He's faster than Spence. But the thing I like about Spence is he has a chin and his work output. I think he's going to overwhelm Crawford, and Crawford's a slow starter. I look for rounds 5 to 7 to be like Hagler Hearns 1 to 3 because they're going to rumble. People say, nah, he's not going to stop him. What they don't really understand is that these guys are dogs, man. Like, they're going to get in the ring. It ain't going to be a chess match. It's going to be, I'm tougher than you, motherfucker. And they're going to rumble, and that's why somebody's going to go out. It ain't going to be a no decision or nothing. Somebody's getting knocked out in that fight.
I look forward to that fight, man. That fight, I'm like you, man. I'll pay $150 for that one. And if they have it here, I'll be there. You'll be in town, Scoon. So we'll go in there together. If that one goes down and spreads, you have to come in town too, man. We have to hit that one because that's going to be special. We need that fight.
And Vegas turns around when you got a big fight, right? It's just in the air, right? A fight weekend. Yeah. It's not even the same town.
No, it's not.
It's nothing like a big fight in Vegas. That's why people miss it so much. They try to replace a UFC because Dana White is from here, and that's all his connections just even got UFC to where it is. Because I'm just like Scoon. I remember the first time I saw UFC, maybe 2005, 4, something like that. I was like, "What the hell is this? Dudes bleeding all in." I don't want to watch it. I'm like, I don't like this, man. So I'd rather watch boxing.
I want to follow up on something Spread said. He said Mayweather changed it for the worse. I got to kind of agree with him, but maybe for different reasons. I was not a big Mayweather fan because I didn't like how gaudy he was, how obnoxious he was in your face. But what I came to understand afterwards is that he was doing that He was playing the heel, so to speak, to make people not like him, to pay to see him lose. But what he did really bad for the sport, by talking about how much money he made so much, he set a precedent where all of these young fighters think they're going to be promoters, think they should be making this exorbitant sums of money, even though they don't draw that in that way. And I mean, even with Gervonta, with his own promotion company and so on and so forth, I mean, they're kind of delusional. You know, Mayweather is one of one. Because he pulled it off doesn't mean you're going to pull it off. And even if you're going to pull it off, look at how long it took him to get to that point. You know, and a lot of kids, whether it be Teofimo or Ryan Garcia or Gervonta, when they start talking about business more so than fighting, you better get ready for them to slip. They should have people around them who they can trust to deal with the business, and they need to deal with what's going on inside the ring. When they start worrying about all this stuff, look at Devin Haney. Devin Haney, he's so materialistic. He's trying to keep up this image, and really all he has to do is just win them fights, man. And that's it, but he's following Floyd's blueprint. You know, that worked for Floyd for a reason, but he set a bad precedent in my opinion with that, and it'll come back to bite him with the fighters he manages, because they're going to want too much money, more than they're worth, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I think what he did too, he tried to develop independency, but as you guys we both touched on, it was something that you can't be Floyd. Floyd's been boxing and around fighting, man, since the day he was born.
It's in his DNA.
He's a boxing baby, man, like literally. So
it's in his DNA, man.
Yeah, your uncle and your dad, they live and breathe this, man. You're gonna know the fight game better than most people do, man. His uncle and his dad told him about the hardships that they went through. And what happened is, with these kids in the social media now, with Floyd being so flashy, yeah, he was successful and he was smart enough to pull it off and had the connections to pull it off. But you don't have the connections that he has. Like you said, hire you some business people that know what they're doing and just focus on your craft, and you're going to get all of the money. But it's the social media now, man. It's the microwave success. They looking at it as if look at this chain that he's got. Look at all these millions that Floyd has.
Look at all these cars. Look at all these women.
Floyd, man, the first time I met Floyd was 1999, Sharpstown Mall. Me and him laugh about it anytime I see him, and I can get close enough to him for us to talk about it, because you know he always got these hang-ons, of course. But we met in Foot Locker. He was a country bumpkin. He was first from Grand Rapids, Michigan, had on a three-piece suit, had two white girls with him. And the reason we started talking is because we were in Foot Locker and both of us were trying to buy a bunch of shoes. They were bringing out like 10 pair for me, and they was getting like 5 or 6 pair for him. He was like, man, what you do? You know, and I'm like, oh, I do this and that, you know, and the third. He's like, man, come to my birthday party I'm having at Chocolate Town. I was like, oh, I ain't coming over there, because I'm from the south side of Houston. I was, you know, in the southwest. And at that time, south side and north side was like some real beef. Like, if you go over there, you can get like murdered. So I'm like, nah, man, I can't come over there. He was like, well, I'm in town with James Prince. Man, check me out. My name is, back then he said, my name's Pretty Boy Floyd.
Yeah, that was his name, Pretty Boy Floyd.
And we talked that time, and from passing on, I'll give him that. He's never forgot me. Anytime we see each other, he be H-Town. You know, he's a cool dude, man. But everybody's trying to pattern their success after him. And I agree with you guys where it messed it up, but it messed it up not necessarily for himself, because he was doing it for him, because he didn't want to get screwed. But what it did mess up, like you both are saying, is the fact that other fighters want to be like him and try to take that same approach, and it's not for everybody, man. So
and to take it one step further,
man. School, you got to get I know you're going to get some fighters, man. You know too much, man. Where you going to start, man? Where you going to start, man?
I don't know. What you about to say? What you about to say, Spread? To take
it one step further on what Floyd did, right? He did that heel persona, right? But here's the deal. You got to have the baby face. His baby face was Oscar De La Hoya. And what was De La Hoya doing back then? He was fighting 4 or 5 times a year. Right. He was on HBO every other month. There was a party at somebody's house to watch De La Hoya like 5 times a year. and De La Hoya was active, and that's what allowed him to become that babyface. I think these guys need to be more active. And the final thing about that heel persona, a lot of these cats ain't getting it. A lot of it was for the camera, because I was, reading stuff behind the scenes. Floyd would go through the drive-through on those 24/7s. They said that's the only time he ever ate fast food. Right. Other times he got a chef. He's doing this and doing that. Yeah. And the other thing is he don't drink. He don't smoke. He's in the club drinking mineral water, right? Yeah, then you got a cat like Adrian Broner copying him, but he's getting up to 160, 170 in between every fight. You taking the wrong things out of this message, right? You take it off the camera. Hey,
when we get off camera, I'm gonna tell you a story about Adrian Broner.
Oh, I'm sure there's more
off camera. We gotta talk about that one off camera, man. I got a story about that guy, man. Hey, School, we really appreciate you coming in, man. We'd love to have you every Friday if your schedule would allow it, man. But whenever there's a fight coming up and you got time, man, please come on the way.
I'll try to make that happen for you, man.
Yeah, we really appreciate you, man. You have a good day. We're going to go on and get these guys these bets, and we'll get the show over shortly, man.
All right, cool.
Okay, good day, brother.
All right, Spread, take care.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was really fun, man, right?
Yeah, I love talking boxing. Really, I think it's the most fun sport to just talk about.
You know it too, man. Like, I'm so out of touch with boxing, man. I used to know boxing so well as a kid, man. I knew all the fighters and all that, but like I said, it just they soured my taste for it in recent years with the way that the heavyweights have declined. It's just when Lennox Lewis and all these British guys start winning, I was just like, man, these guys suck. They couldn't be the guys that I grew up watching, so it kind of pulled me back. And then I tried to hang with Floyd for a while, but just like you said, it took so long for him to have some real competition. He beat Canelo, he beat Canelo in person. But besides that,
and in hindsight, that's a good win. I remember at the time, everyone expected.
He always brings that up. He always brings that up when people try to talk, mess about he hasn't fought about it. That's the first one name he'll throw out there. Like, I fought Canelo. And he hounded him. He hounded Canelo bad, So
that was talking about easy money. I was on Floyd there too, because Canelo money kept flying in. That was a lovely, lovely weekend for me.
And he fought De La Hoya. That was a great fight because De La Hoya was at the end of his prime, but he still had it when they fought the first time. But Pacquiao was the fight, man. When they both were in their prime, we supposed to call it, like you said, a trilogy of that. Unfortunately, we called him at the end, and it was over with. It was pretty tactical and smart by Floyd because he felt like he was the only guy who could probably give him some issues, And like we say, boxing, man, is something else. Let's get to yesterday's news real quick and switch lanes to what we do, man. Yesterday's spread came through, man. He saved the day for us, man. My picks didn't go good at all with the draft, man. After Kunawa didn't go in the top 3, I knew we were dead. I'm like, this guy slid. He ended up going 5. He was number 5, unfortunately.
No, he went 6.
And you were right on point about Kyle Hamilton. He ended up going right at the 14 spot. And look where he went. Perfect, of course. Who always draft safeties? Baltimore Ravens. But that's what
And if you think about it, for his career, that's huge. You don't want to go to like.
He looked upset too going up there. Did you see him? He looked kind of upset.
Why? Just you think because he don't want to live in Baltimore?
Probably, but he doesn't know. Yeah, he doesn't know. He doesn't know.
It's so good for his career to be there.
That's about to make you a Hall of Famer. Like you landed in the perfect spot. You're gonna have Ed Reed coming over there to talk to you all summer because Ed Reed's always around the team, and they always play to the safety. They know how to design the right type of defenses to highlight the safety as well. So unfortunately, we came short on that one and the bonus, but we did get Dallas. How did that Dallas game for you, man? I caught it in game. I got it at halftime when they went down 12. I got plus 400. And it wasn't, I picked it right on time because at halftime, I looked at the halftime line, it was minus 4.5. I'm like, man, Spread just talked about this, I'm gonna catch this game live. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I didn't bet anything else. I missed the Sixers, but I won the series for my future, but I didn't bet the game. And I was pissed because I'm like, man, I should have bet this game. I knew the Sixers was going to smoke them this game. And I ended up just jumping in like, man, I'm going in on the Mavericks with the plus 400. Man, the third quarter, unbelievable third quarter by the Mavs. They dominated the third quarter.
You had to notice, though, right? Luka be ball hogging, man.
Oh, yeah.
Can I get Jalen Brunson some love? He's going to leave
because
you got him sitting over there in the corner. And at what point it was 80-74. And that's when, we were talking about it. They might want a game 7. Jazz started getting every single call, and Luka's sitting there, and he runs a pick and roll, and then he gets the double, and then he pops it to his guy for the wide open 3-0. If he doesn't get the double, he scores it himself. But they could have definitely used Jalen Brunson doing what he was doing in game 1 and 2, get into the lane.
Yep.
Get some of those easy baskets. Ain't nobody on that team could cover him because he's too quick with his pull up for Rudy to adjust. He pulls up before Rudy gets there, and ain't nobody staying in front of anyone.
And he got that little step through that he's had since college where he could pop you with the little 10-footer, but he could step through and get the layup on it. He's got great footwork. He's gone. He's gone. That's why after you see the interview
pissed me off. They should have used him more. Luka got to realize, they
talked to Luka like right after the game.
I kind of saw it. I saw it cussed, and I literally was like, I got to get up early for today.
Dude, Brunson's gone. They asked Luka. This was the perfect time for Luka to be like, man, Jalen Brunson carried us through the first couple games. You know what he said? Who? Who, Brunson? Oh, he should have been most improved player. He's been doing it all year. Pay that man, and went on to the next thing.
I didn't like how they didn't get him involved. I wanted some 2-point shots. When you're up by 6 and the other team's getting the whistle and the other team's getting to the rim, that's how you slow that momentum down.
Luka don't want him there. Luka don't want him there. He gonna take the ball from him. He want Hardaway to come back, and see no Hardaway just gonna stand in the corner and wait on the clap. So,
I can't wait to see this cat because man, I hope he gets more involved against Phoenix. I can't wait to see that series. Anyways, we got the win. A little bit fortunate, right? Quinn Snyder drew up a great play.
Woo! My boy Bogdanovich.
Yeah, and they made a great point about how this team just failed at all from construction. They brought in Bogdanovich and Conley to help. Conley get a travel call. Bro, you're 35 years old. This is why we have you on the team. You're not fast anymore. You can't stay in front of anyone anymore. We need veteran leadership. Traveling, and he couldn't even argue. Look at the replay.
Yeah, he just gave him the ball.
Him 3. It was like 4 steps. Unbelievable there.
He panicked.
And then that Bogdanovich, you can't necessarily say, oh, you blew it, you missed the shot. But that's what you're there for, was to get wide open and hit shots. So I'm glad this Jazz team's done. I'm glad we got the win. I'm glad we're able to move on. I mean, it would have been nice. I would have hit Mavericks up to -7 in that game 7 because without those fans, that Jazz team didn't stand a chance there. But regardless, let's move on today. I'm glad that we got the win.
Yeah, man, we gotta come with an undefeated day for ball and parlay because we're in jeopardy. So we gotta win 3 to keep the 15 straight weeks going, man. We gotta win 3. So I'm giving out 2 to make sure. Give them your best one right now, Spread.
All right, I'm gonna start, man. And I don't like the side on this game. I'm fine not betting the side on this game. I'm taking the total. I'm going with the Mavericks and the Grizzlies. I'm going under again. It's gone under 3 of the 5. But guess what we've seen with all these game 6s? As things get tight, pressure on, defense gets better, pace gets slower. I'm taking the under again. That's the best way to approach this game. I'll argue. I mean, if you want, I can make an argument for either side of these teams on the side. So, I mean, the line's right. It's even. You can't say, well, I can make an argument for both sides, but this one's plus 150. No, they lined it evenly. It should be even. It's going to be a great game, but it's going to be slow paced. Give me the under 229.5.
Okay, I'm going to give you guys 2. We're going to hit that USFL Philadelphia Stars money line -115. Their quarterback is leading the league in passing. They'll be facing a New Jersey Generals team who has actually more rushing yards than passing this year. And they're not beast on the ground. It's just that their quarterbacks struggle to complete passes. They have a rotation going with the kid actually from Houston, from Texas Southern, with another guy who played a lot of spring football last year in the XFL league. So I don't see them being able to generate much offense, at least not enough to keep up with Philadelphia. Philadelphia is high scoring. They got a quarterback who's one of those guys who's twitchy. He's making a lot of second read plays, and I like what their receiving core looks like. So I think Philadelphia Stars handle the New Jersey Generals pretty easy. And then tonight we got Alex Wood on the mound. Anytime he's on the mound for the Giants, and especially at home, I'm going to take him. They got a mismatch tonight with the Nationals. The Nationals have lost, I believe, 10 straight games. This is the wrong time to try to get out their streak by going to San Francisco to face one of the best home teams in the Major League Baseball. with the Giants. I expect the Giants to handle them fairly easy tonight. So tonight we're going to give you guys 3. We're going to go 3-0, and that's going to push us over the top and make us 5-4 for the week. It'll be our 15th straight winning week. So let's knock these 3 games out this weekend. We got the under on the Grizz and the T-Wolves. We got the Philadelphia Stars and the USFL money line, and we have the Giants tonight money line at Oracle Park against the Washington Nationals. We really enjoyed you guys today. We enjoyed this week. We sorry that we didn't give out as many games as we do. We weren't doing two games a day. It's getting real lenient out here because we want to make sure that we give you guys strong bets. We don't want to give you guys just leans and things like that. So that's why the numbers were small. Hopefully next week we see some more favorable numbers and we can go back to giving out 2 of them a game. 2 games a day to the people. But the key is just winning, man. Let's continue to win. Let's continue to be smart. Like I said, we had 14 straight winning weeks. So if you guys have been betting these games straight, you should be having some real nice rollover money right now. Anything for the people spread before we get out of here?
No, man, I'm just excited for this weekend. And you know what's great? NBA cleared out. Boxing will be, I could watch boxing on Saturday night now. I don't got any NBA on the other TV. So that's going to be an exciting fight. And like I said, even though we kind of think what's going to happen, I think how it happens is going to tell a big story, for both these guys and how their careers go. So, boy, great show today. That was so much fun talking to Curtis. And we got a great weekend of sports ahead.
Who do you like on that fight that we were speaking of?
Yeah, I like Stevenson. I mean, how can you not? I mean,
by decision?
I guess so.
All right, so we're going to get that out too. We're going to get that out too. I don't see him knocking him out, but you don't have to put it up. Hey, guys, go take, since we brought on the CEO of SCOONTV, the founder, Curtis Scoon, and he's a boxing expert, and my guy Spread knows boxing as well. Sounds like Shakur Stevenson minus 150 to me to win by decision will be the one to go with. So that's 4. We're going to give you guys tonight. We got plays in all types of sports. We're in the USFL, we're in Major League Baseball, we're in the NBA, and we're throwing up a little boxing for you as a bonus. So go with Shakur Stevenson by decision minus 150. Thank you guys for tuning in. Follow my guy Spread Astaire at Spread Astaire on Twitter. Also subscribe to his YouTube channel, which is Spread Astaire. Follow me on Twitter at 5-Star in Vegas, spell out the 5, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is 5-Star in Vegas Sports Investments. We're here Monday through Friday, every day on SCOONTV. Subscribe to SCOONTV as well. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Best of luck as always. See you on Monday.